Hey, I'm Ryan Myrehn. This is the Not Speeding, Just Qualifying podcast.
Hop in, buckle up, and get ready to lay it on the line. This is Not Speeding, Just Qualifying, a podcast that's just as fast as it sounds. What's up, family? I'm David Lawrence. Welcome to the Not Speeding, Just Qualifying podcast. Thank you for listening to today's episode. Are you subscribed to our channels? If not, what are you waiting for? Come on, get your setup all dialed in, ready to go for pole position. Search Not Speeding Just Qualifying on YouTube or in the podcast section of the YouTube Music app and subscribe to us today. If you're listening to this episode on the day it drops, we're on the first week of December, and usually when you think December, racing seasons are either winding down or are completely finished. But that's not the case today. Today, we're previewing the new season of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship, which kicks off, believe it or not, this weekend in Sao Paulo, Brazil. If you've heard from the teaser, I have Ryan Myrehn, who has been commentating on Formula E for us here in the United States the last couple of years. He helped me to break down our Formula E 101 episode. So for those who may be listening to this episode but still want to know what Formula E is all about, go back to the catalog, check that episode out, and then come back here. But for those who are already well familiar with Formula E, today we're going to do a preview of the 2025-2026 season, better known as Season 12 of the ABB FIA Formula E World Championship. We're talking tracks, we're talking teams, we're talking drivers, and we're also making some bold predictions. So without further ado, join me and Ryan as we look forward to the Season 12 of Formula E. Enjoy. Let's talk 2025-2026, Ryan. So many drivers and team combinations that are changing. Quickly, let's start with the drivers, as a matter of fact, and let's start with the man that everyone's got the bullseye for, and that's Oliver Rowland, the defending world champion of FIA Formula E. 4 wins, 7 podiums. Surely he think is the favorite. However, there's a Kiwi by the name of Nick Cassidy who is going to give Oliver a run for his money. 4 wins in the final 6 races, including the last 3 to close the season. In your mind, even with his move to the newly renamed Citroen team for 2025-26 or season 12 for those of you who would prefer to use that vernacular, did that run of form, does that momentum make Cassidy the championship favorite in yours and a lot of other people's eyes?
I don't know about other people. I would say he's definitely in the conversation, but I don't know that he's the favorite. I think you do probably have to start with Oliver Rowland, who won in pretty comprehensive form last year. He got it clinched nice and early, which is a good thing, too, because actually he had a bit of a swoon late in the season, which might be cause for concern. But the info that I picked up coming out of preseason testing is that he and that Nissan team look really stout once again. It should be said, if he were to go back-to-back, it would be bucking quite a few trends because it's only happened once before. In fact, we only have one instance of a multi-time Formula E champion, and that's Jean-Eric Vergne. He's the only one that has 2 titles on his resume now in over a decade of this championship. So it's not an easy thing to do. I will say this, Nissan has doubled down on its program of a year ago. They brought back Norman Nato to be alongside. That was a bit of a surprise because he really struggled last year. But consistency is an important aspect of it. He clearly fits within the team's framework. And if he can step forward his performances a little bit, even if Oliver steps back slightly, I think Nissan should still be there contending for a championship. But, you know, you're right to point out Nick Cassidy, who has been close on so many occasions. I think it's 4 times he's gone into the season finale with a shot at the championship, but he's never come away with one. He's been really good for a bunch of teams over the last couple of years, and he's proven to be a quick study when he has changed teams in the past. To think the team that he's coming from, Jaguar TCS Racing, that's a really interesting one to look at because Mitch Evans is another one who's been in title contention a lot in recent years. He's probably the best driver never to win a title in Formula E history. It's either him or Sam Bird. who retired after last season. But
Right.
those are probably the two with the best resumes that don't have that championship yet. And he has a fascinating new teammate in Antonio Felix da Costa, who comes over from Porsche and is super motivated to prove the Porsche folks that they did him a little bit dirty over the last couple of years in restricting his racing outside of Formula E and managing the interpersonal relationships, let's say, within that team. So I think those are a couple places to look, and I'd close by throwing Pascal Wehrlein's name into the mix. He was a champion a couple of years ago, really, really strong driver with that strong team as well. And I think Nico Muller, his teammate, although he did not have a good year for the Satellite Andretti team last year, I think he could be in a position to help push that program forward, especially if the two drivers at Porsche actually are willing to have a conversation with each other outside of mandated media sessions. I mean, it was pretty nasty at the tail end of the year last year. And so in spite of that, Porsche was still pretty strong. If they can actually have some harmony within the team, then that could put them in a really good position as well.
This is why you get a man on the ground, folks. Nice little tip for future reference. So you mentioned Da Costa and Muller, along with Nick Cassidy in new places. We also know Taylor Barnhart with McLaren out. He's gone to Penske now. A little bit of a side 1A to that driver's question. Of the drivers in new places, who do you think will have the biggest impact?
Oh, that is a really interesting one. I think Cassidy probably is the right choice here in terms of having an impact and bringing a team forward everywhere he's been, whether it's been, in Vision and then jumping over to Jag, and now where he finds himself with Citroen, which is, it's a renamed team, but it's still the same root and bone of the Maserati MSG team, which won a race last year, and so should be pretty strong even with this rebrand. And if anything, they should have more resources behind them in addition to Nick, who brings so much experience and a personality that's going to expect excellence out of everybody around him. So I think that's probably the right choice. You could make a case for Antonio Felix da Costa with the Jaguar team, and I think as well for Nico Muller, just to bring a breath of fresh air into the Porsche team. But I think Cassidy probably is the best answer to that question.
All right. Next up, staying in the drivers here, we got a couple of quote-unquote new drivers, and I can't really say too much new because we've seen them in the past, but full-time stepping up, Joel Eriksson, the Swede, he's now full-time at Envision, and Felipe Drugovich is now full-time after his one-off appearance. I think it was at Berlin a year ago. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
But which of those two drivers, quote unquote, new to the full season fold, who do you think will be a little bit more of a rising star, shining impact? Who do you think will outshine the other in that group?
Of the two, Drugovich, I think, probably has the edge. He scored points in one of his two races last year in a fill-in role. A lot of drivers in Formula E have dual programs between the World Endurance Championship and Formula E, and there have been some conflicts in recent years. Mercifully, we don't have one this upcoming season, which is great news for drivers with dual programs. But, yeah, great news. But that opened the door then for a few folks to make some debuts in the championship, including Drugovich, who was really strong, I thought, last year in Berlin. So that's probably the direction I would look. If we're talking about fresh blood, though, this was a pretty late and recent announcement, but Pepe Marti, who will be a true rookie, and he got signed with Cooper Akiro alongside Dan Ticktum, who was probably the breakout star of the year last year and really didn't get a lot of help from his rookie teammate David Beckman one season ago. I think there's reason to believe that Marti, who's from Spain, and brings a pretty good junior single-seater resume to the equation. I think he could fit in. He was apparently very impressive at the test. The team liked what he was able to contribute. But even still, I think Drugovich is best positioned, if for no other reason than he's with the Andretti team, which has won a Drivers' World Championship in the last couple of years with Jake Dennis. So I think he's probably in the best place to shine, but it is going to be interesting to see how some of these fresh faces adapt to the challenge of FE.
It is definitely going to be, especially like we say, it's kind of a lame duck year as we're getting that Gen 3 Evo last year of that. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of take that and, for lack of a better word, kind of make it make it stick and make it go. Let's switch teams real quick. As we've mentioned already, McLaren, they're now gone. They're going to focus on their hypercar endeavors. Stellantis really is not a team going away. They've rebranded to Citroen from Maserati. So my question to you is this: even with a rebrand, is there anybody that you can see challenging last year's top three of Porsche, Jaguar, and Nissan? And if so, who do you think could step in and play that role?
Yeah, I think it's Mahindra, actually. They were really good at times last year. It was an amazing renaissance for that team, which had been nowhere. And if we could back up just a second, an interesting coda to the Oliver Rowland championship story is that we're not too far away, just a couple of seasons removed on him leaving Mahindra mid-season because it was going so poorly for both of them. And then he ended up back at Nissan, and that ultimately proved to be a really good decision. He was good 2 years ago. He was very good en route to the championship last year. But also, Mahindra has had this revival of its fortunes, too, headlined by Nick de Vries, who's a former Formula E champion when he was with Mercedes a few years ago, and Eduardo Mortara, who's maybe a little bit less well-known outside of Formula E and sports cars, but has been a good Formula E driver for quite a while now. They were there nipping at the heels of the front runners, and the intel coming out of the preseason test is they looked really, really strong. Now, we left that test last year thinking that Jaguar was going to be great, and as it turned out, they had a miserable start to season 11. So you can't read everything into it, but I think there is a lot of confidence around the Mahindra team, and if you're looking for a dark horse that might be able to upset the apple cart a little bit, that's the direction I would point you.
Hey, to Jaguar's point, 5 wins in the last 6 races. You can't get. It's not how you start, it's how you finish, folks. I guess that's the best way to kind of tell how last year's preseason test went. All right, Ryan, let's look at the schedule. Longest schedule in the 12-season history of Formula E this season. 17 races, 11 different venues. Some of the highlights, of course, we open in Sao Paulo. When we drop this, it'll be the week of the Sao Paulo season opener. Miami back again, but at its 3rd different venue. We raced downtown Miami. We've now raced at Homestead, Miami, and now we're going. So where else can we go but Miami International Autodrome in the shadow of Hard Rock Stadium the week after another one of our favorite events, the Rolex 24, mind us. One new race on the calendar. You mentioned Pepe Martin. He gets a home race for his rookie season. We go to Madrid for the first time, but not on the streets. We'll go to the classic Jarama circuit just outside of Madrid, and we'll finish it all up with that traditional Shanghai, Tokyo, and London run to end the season. Ryan, which races are you looking most forward to as we look forward to this 2025-26 season 12?
Well, Brazil, because it's the first one, and that means we're up and running. There's always some excitement when you're thinking about the upcoming season. I think that the shift to the Miami International Autodrome is a good one. I happened to be there last year when they did the Creators Challenge with all the influencers driving the Gen 3 Evo cars at that venue last year, and I think in some respects it was a trial run to see if it would work for venue and series alike. And quite frankly, the Homestead fit never really seemed to be what either the track nor the series wanted to see. As we talked about earlier, they want to be close to population centers, and gotta love Homestead, right? But it is not in Miami proper, and to call it a Miami E-Prix when it's out in Homestead is more than a little bit of a misnomer. So this feels a little bit closer to what they envisioned with that. And so that one I think is quite exciting. And I'll close by saying that London is a phenomenal event. I've been privileged to get to cover that in person the last couple of years. Brought my family out to it 2 years ago, and it's really well done. Inside outside venue, so it's a good chunk of the track is actually inside at a convention center, and then they use some of the access roads outside, which gives you some amazing visuals. A few years back, it actually was raining, so half of the track was inside in the dry, the other part was outside in the rain. You don't get that in any other series. And then I thought they did a great job as well with the fan midway to give young kids and stuff things to do when cars weren't on track. So I think it's a great finale, really well-attended event that has a lot of momentum behind it. Unfortunately, though, it might be a casualty of this brand new car, which could be outgrowing, as we mentioned earlier, some of these smaller venues. And that's one that could struggle. But enjoy it while we got it. I think it's really special, and it certainly is unique.
If anybody's listening to this and Ryan piqued your interest with that London inside outside, go to YouTube, watch last year, type in London E-Prix. I promise you will not regret what you're going to see. All right, Ryan, let me put you on the spot as we close you out for the season preview. I know you mentioned Mahindra coming in and disturbing. You mentioned all of these drivers that could possibly factor in. We are in London. It is August. Who is your season 12 FI Formula E World Champion for drivers and teams? I put you on the spot. Choose one.
Boy, you did put me on the spot. This is a notoriously difficult championship to predict. I say this to buy myself some time and try and think this through. Nothing that I have said so far would lead to this conclusion, but why not Mitch Evans and Jaguar? You mentioned the way that their season ended last year. They certainly have momentum. No evolution in car from last year to this year, only minor updates to software and things like this. He's got a good teammate who can help him and push him, Antonio Felix da Costa. I guess I'll point to Mitch Evans for the Drivers' Championship, but I think that we might see Porsche win the manufacturers or the team's championship this year, just because they were successful last year in spite of all the internal team dramas. I think that Nico Moeller will be a good company man, and he'll be there to help support Pascal Wehrlein. And that's a team that really has put the emphasis over the years on the team's championship, on the manufacturer's title, which was new last year as well. And I think that maybe that's the direction I'd go for those two championships. But don't go out and place any wagers based on what I'm saying here today. I mean, it is wide open. That's the beauty of the sport. Nobody would have picked Oliver Rowland at this time last year. Let's put it that way, right? That came totally out of left field, and the beauty of it is we could have a brand new surprise just like that, and I kind of hope we do.
Couldn't agree more, and that is why they say you race the race, you play the game, because if we could predict everything, it wouldn't be as exciting. Ryan, it's been a pleasure as always. Where can people find you on socials?
You can find me on X or on Instagram. It's at Ryan Myrehn. Then you have to spell my last name. That's the tough part. But Ryan, R-Y-A-N, and then Myrehn is M-Y-R-E-H-N. And I'm most active on those two platforms, and should be a busy year covering all different types of motor racing throughout the 2026, and then I guess the end of 2025 too, with likely the start of the Formula E season. We'll certainly be paying close attention and hopefully being a part of that as well.
Ryan, it's all a pleasure. By the way, we'll put his links to his socials in the description box for the show notes, just in case you need the physical links. Ryan Myrehn, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for the time, my friend.
Thanks so much, David. Hope to see you at the track again here soon.
I think Bob Jenkins said it best. I was a racing fan that got lucky. Truly, that describes Ryan as well. A fan of motorsport and truly one of the best in the business when it comes to commentating, media, and bringing the action to us. A huge thanks again to Ryan for helping me break down and preview this 2025-26 season of Formula E. If we have piqued your interest and you want to catch the action of Season 12, you can catch the action on the Roku channel, and you can see highlighted coverage on CBS Sports Network and Big CBS throughout the season. Check your local listings for air times. All right, everybody, that is our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Do you have a series or a topic you would like for us to cover on the show? If so, reach out to us. Firstly, by email at dalmotorsports@gmail.com. The email address again, dalmotorsports@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. The second place you can catch us is social media. We're on X, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, all at the handle at NSJQ Podcast. Also, subscribe to our show on YouTube and YouTube Music. That way you can make sure you can catch whenever we drop new episodes. You'll get that notification. Make sure you hit the bell when you subscribe, and you will be able to catch all our new episodes. And on YouTube, you can catch our full episode library. Lastly, if you want to follow me on my personal socials, links to those will be in the description box to this episode. Thanks for listening to Not Speeding, Just Qualifying, the podcast that goes just as fast as it sounds. I'm David Lawrence, and we'll talk to you next time. Until then, remember, you're not living life to the fullest until you're going flat out. So long, everyone.